How you doing out there? It's Frankie Russo pre-show. I forgot to on again. You know, Frankie Russo pre-show number 76. Crazy world, crazy times. As you know, I'm keeping focused on this whole thing because I believe it's statistically significant, and I'm just going to keep talking about it and keep bringing up some data that I think is pretty compelling. It's pretty interesting. Obviously, the things that I talk about, the Obama administration, Sheriff Joe selected service card, Sheriff Joe's investigation of Obama selected service cards is statistically significant. Sheriff Joe from Arizona, Nicole Posse, Obama's an illegal president based on the fact that if you have a fraudulent selected service card, which I believe is statistically significant, according to federal law, you can't serve an executive branch. So I'm claiming that that is statistically significant. The investigation by the Professional Law Enforcement's Office of Sheriff Joe of Arizona and Nicole Posse, claiming that Obama's selective service card is fraudulent. Therefore, Obama is an illegal president. I believe it's statistically significant. I believe. So from there, we got the memorandum of understanding between the Clinton Foundation and Barack Obama, his office and Bill Clinton's office in December 2008. And that's where Obama recommended to Congress Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. And now we have the makings of this, what I believe is the Obama administration, the executive branch of the United States government, is a criminal enterprise. Obama Memorandum of Understanding in 2008, December 2008, Clinton Foundation, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Cheryl Mills, Huma Abedin, and Rosa Jackson. It just so happens that Trey Gowdy, with the Benghazi thing and all that, is calling Cheryl Mills to testify and Huma Abedin. Cheryl Mills is a former chief of staff of the Hillary Clinton State Department. When Hillary Clinton left, she went to the Clinton Foundation. She's on the board of the Clinton Foundation. And Huma Abedin is a senior advisor to Hillary Clinton, and she's also an advisor. She consults with the Clinton Foundation. And then this thing starts to get murky. And this is where I'm at, because we got this 650 Fifth Avenue building, which was owned by the Shah of Iran. And as you know, the Shah left, and the Iranian mullahs took over, and it ended up, through all the machinations, the Alevi Foundation owns an interest in 650 Fifth Avenue. That's 53rd and Fifth Avenue in Manhattan building. The building's worth about $500 million. Crazy. Assa Corporation and Bank Melli of Iran also own an interest in 650 Fifth Avenue. Preet Bharara, District Attorney, Southern District, FBI, wiretaps, wire transfers, bank, the whole surveillance, the FBI surveillance and the investigation. They found that Preet Bharara filed a complaint that the Alevi Foundation, Assa Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran is really the Iranian government. And it just so happens that the Alevi Foundation gave $105,000 to the Clinton Foundation, knowing this conclusion that was drawn on the 650 Fifth Avenue case, that Alevi Foundation, Assa Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran is the Iranian government. And they were money laundering money from the 650 Fifth Avenue building through these terrorist entities. They were deemed by court papers, judge's decision, Treasury Department, Justice Department, FBI investigations, that they were money laundering through these entities to the Iranian government. Basically, these were front organizations for the Iranian government, basically. And that's what Preet Bharara put in his complaint, and that's what Judge Forrest concluded. And she ruled in the favor of Preet Bharara to the point where 650 Fifth Avenue building was seized by the United States government and then forfeited to the United States government. And then eventually the United States government was on the sale, the proceeds of the sale of this building was going to go to the victims, the families of the victims of the September 11, 2001 unfortunate bombing of the World Trade Center, and the families of the Marines who were killed in that unfortunate event in Beirut, where over 200 Marines were the Beirut bombing, where over 200 Marines were killed. So these unfortunate events, the sale of this building, the proceeds were going to go to the families of those victims. And that's where we are. And then I found out through Rachel Effenfeld, President of American Center for Democracy, the Hanskew case, and the American Spectator that claims public tax records of the Alevi Foundation, claims that the Alevi Foundation gave the Blind Sheikh's Mosque $1.4 million. And that's where I was headed. Last week, if you go to the Frankie Russo pre-show, number 75, I line up 10 radical Islamists, 10 jihadists in America, from the Blind Sheikh's Mosque and the Blind Sheikh, 10. They either had 5 to 15, they either served 5 to 15 years in prison, they either are serving a lifetime sentence, and or they're serving a dual lifetime sentence in jail. Yet, the Clinton Foundation doesn't know that the Alevi Foundation is a terrorist entity, that the Alevi Foundation is funding terror. Because if the Clinton Foundation knows that the Alevi Foundation is a terrorist entity, the transaction between the Clinton Foundation and the Alevi Foundation is prohibited. You got Executive Order 1322.5 under W. I mean, it's prohibited if they know that the Alevi Foundation is a terrorist entity. Okay, so that's where I'm at. And I went through, and we left off at Rami Youssef. So we got the Alevi Foundation gives $1.4 million to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, Al Farouk in Brooklyn. Blind Sheikh, I don't want to go over all of them because it's right. We got all this now. I'm up to I did Rami Youssef, but I'm going to start there because I already did 10 because I want to get into some other stuff too. So Rami Youssef is one of the main perpetrators of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Rami Youssef. Okay? And he's the gentleman that's serving two lifetime prison sentences. Okay? And he's, just to give you an idea, he was also a perpetrator of the Bajinka plot, which was a bombing of the Philippine Airlines Flight 434. That's and also a co-conspirator in the Bojinka plot. Now, I'm not going to get into all that because I'm just focused on the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. I just wanted to give you some context of how horrific this individual is. So he's serving two lifetime prison sentences. Rami Youssef, main perpetrator of 1993 World Trade Center bombing, main perpetrator bombing of the Philippine Airlines Flight 434, and a co-conspirator on the Bajinka plot. Was tried in the United States District Court of the Southern District, along with two co-conspirators convicted of planning the Bajinka plot, and sentenced for 2 life sentences for his part in 1993 bombing in the Bajinka plot. That's this guy, Rami Youssef, and that's where we left off last week. And then we found out that Rami Youssef's maternal uncle is none other than Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Now, interestingly, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is a senior Al-Qaeda member accused of being the principal architect of the September 11th attacks in 2001. In addition, he's also considered to be the organizer of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and is considered, as I said earlier, one of the masterminds of the September 11th, 2001 unfortunate attacks on the World Trade Center. So that's number 11. And I don't understand, with all these radical Islamists associated with the Blind Sheikh and/or the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, how President Clinton, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation doesn't know that the Levy Foundation is a terrorist entity, that the Levy Foundation is sponsoring terror, funding terror. The next radical Islamists, and these people are all within, like I said, they're all associated either with the Blind Sheikh or the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. Rami Youssef was recruited by the Blind Sheikh. The bombing, the 1993 bombing, the plot from the Jersey City Mosque and the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, all the planning went on over there. And the Blind Sheikh, as you know from last week's show, is serving a lifetime prison sentence. So now we got this other gentleman called Musa Abu Marzouk, founder of the Islamic Association of Palestine, Mohammed al-Anoudi, first president of the Islamic Association of Palestine, unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation trial, Hamas financing. IRS records show that the single largest Hamas financing between 1989, Hamas is a terrorist entity deemed by nctc.gov. Between 1989 and 1994 is Musa Abu Marzouk, number 2 Hamas leader, according to all intelligence. And he's also founder of the Holy Land Foundation, Hamas financing. He donated $210,000 to the Holy Land Foundation. And as you know, this Musa Abu Marzouk and this Holy Land Foundation is the largest money laundering scheme for terror in this nation's history. Bigger than the 650 Fifth Avenue building case that I talk about every week. There wasn't any property like there was the 650 Fifth Avenue building, but it's 246 unindicted co-conspirators, Muslim Brotherhood front organizations, FBI wiretaps, Laura Burns testimony, compelling case. And Eric Holder and the Obama administration dropped the charges. There was so much evidence from between the court papers and the judge's decision that Congressman Louis Gohmert couldn't believe, because Congressman Louis Gohmert from Texas sits on these oversight committees and he questions the executive branch of the United States government, and he was questioning Holder. He had all the evidence in his hand, the judge's decision, the court papers, and he couldn't understand why Eric Holder just wouldn't keep this case open, the Holy Land Foundation trial. CARE is involved, ISNA, Islamic Society in North America, these big Muslim outreach programs that, quite frankly, are a breeding ground, are a cover for the stealth radical Islamists that are infiltrating this nation. And it's mind-boggling to me. So with Musa Abu Marzouk, that gives us 12 radical Islamists. And I don't understand how the Clinton Foundation, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and President Obama, the illegal president, how they don't know that the Levy Foundation is a terrorist entity. The Levy Foundation is funding terror. Number 13, an interesting one. Bank Melli of Iran. Like I mentioned earlier, I mentioned it throughout the week, the 650 Fifth Avenue case is a very interesting case because it just puts everything into light. The Levy Foundation court papers and a judge's decision, the Levy Foundation, Assa Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran that own interest in 650 Fifth Avenue was deemed by Judge Catherine Forrest to be terrorist entities, basically the Iranian government. And Bank Melli of Iran was sanctioned by the Treasury Department, and their assets were frozen. They called them proliferators of the weapons of weapons of Iran's weapons of mass destruction. So that's what I'm going to get into right now. That's how deep this case was. This 650 Fifth Avenue building. Bank Melli of Iran. Bank Melli of Iran. Okay? So, Bank Melli of Iran, the United States Department of Treasury designated 11 companies under Executive Order 13382 for their ties to Iran's Bank Melli. In Executive Order 13382 is an authority aimed at freezing the assets of weapons of mass destruction proliferators and those who support them. Bank Melli has been designated as a WMD's proliferator, weapons of mass destruction proliferator, by the United States, European Union, and Australia for its role in Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. United States Treasury Department. This is all documents from the United States Treasury. These are press releases, out of the press releases. United States Treasury Department between 2002 and 2008, Bank Melli of Iran sent at least $100 million to Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, and other groups via the Quds Force, a branch of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Unbelievable. This is Bank Melli of Iran. How doesn't President Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, Obama not know that the Alevi Foundation is a terrorist entity? The Alevi Foundation is funding terror. It just doesn't make any sense. Bank Melli of Iran is a partner, owns an interest of the 650 Fifth Avenue building, and according to the judge's decision, it was the Alevi Foundation, Asset Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran. It's a terrorist entity. It's a terrorist enterprise. The executive director of the Alevi Foundation was sent to jail for obstruction of justice. Money laundering was proven unequivocally. Is that the right word? I think it. So that's the 12th. That's the 13th. Now we got this other situation, which I think is very interesting. Iranian Revolutionary Guard. This is number 14. Iranian Revolutionary Guards Quds Force. It's a branch of the Revolutionary Quds Force, which is basically a branch. QUDS Force is a branch of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and it's headed by none other than Brigadier General Soleimani. And just to keep everything up to snuff, Soleimani recently, it's come out today that he violated the sanctions and he went to Russia, met with Putin, and apparently it's been reported. It's been reported on Fox News and other television programs, and then on the internet and these various sourced articles on the internet, that Brigadier General Soleimani, who's in charge of the commander of Quds QUDS Force, a branch of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, okay? This gentleman, he went to Russia, met with Putin. Apparently they say he's trying to buy weapons. I don't know exactly what type of weapons, but he's trying to buy weapons. And it's a direct violation of the sanctions right now. It's a big thing because he met with, listen to this, he met with Putin and he went to Russia a week before John Kerry was testifying before Congress and how a great deal that this was, and how that this Brigadier General Soleimani is going to be sanctioned like you never believe. He will always be sanctioned, according to John Kerry. If I'm not mistaken, that was his, I'm paraphrasing his quote, but he was pretty much, I'm going to look for the quote now, but he was pretty much like, and obviously he violated the sanction, and it's crazy. This is the Quads, this is the Quad Force, Quads Force, a branch of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, Brigadier General Soleimani. Crazy. So just to give you a little more background on this cat, according to Fox News, Soleimani was the first designated terrorist sanctioned by the United States in 2005 for his role as a supporter of terrorism. And in October 2011, interestingly, the United States Treasury Department tied Soleimani to the failed Iranian plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States, at a popular restaurant in D.C. The Quds Force is the Special Forces external wing of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, responsible for supporting terrorist proxies across the Middle East. And interestingly, it reports directly to Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei. Crazy, right? So with that, we have 14 radical Islamists that are affiliated with either the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, and the 650 Fifth Avenue building case. And then it not only does it get us into the 650 Fifth Avenue building case, but through the Blind Sheikh's Mosque and the Blind Sheikh, we get into the Holy Land Foundation trial, the biggest money laundering scheme for terror in this nation's history. And still, I don't understand how President Clinton, Obama, doesn't know that the Levy Foundation is a terrorist entity. The Levy Foundation is funding terror. Crazy. Now we got this other thing. Just to give you a little, oh. Okay, it crashed, but it came back. Remember I told you I try to tie this together, you know? I try to tie this together. According to the Weekly Standard, Zarif, the chief negotiator in this nuke deal today's nuke deal with Obama, Zarif, Mohammed Zarif, he's the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran. Okay? Mohammed Zarif, right? He served from 2002 to 2007 as Iran's ambassador to the UN, right? Now, according to the Weekly Standard, I'm reading right from their article, Zarif was violating U.S. sanctions and funneling millions of dollars into Iran's state-owned Bank Melli of Iran. Remember I mentioned this? This is Zarif, and I mentioned as the Quad Force. Wait. Bank Melli of Iran. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. But anyway, Bank Melli of Iran. I wish I can. Oh, here it is. Bank Melli of Iran. I found it. Bank Melli of Iran. Okay? Designated by the Treasury Department for its role in Iranian nuclear proliferation, known as the Alevi case. This scheme ranks as the biggest at the time, but it's not, because it's the biggest money laundering operation involving UN diplomats since they're saying Saddam Hussein's oil for food program. Zarif is in the middle of it, they're saying, right? And then they go on to say, which is pretty interesting. This is pretty interesting, this thing, what they go on to say. The Alevi case, I'm just going to read from this thing because it's pretty. The Alevi case attracted attention of the U.S. authorities, and while Zarif was serving in New York, right? And we went over this with the Bank Melli of Iran, and we talked about, in the beginning about the Shah of Iran, how he owned the building, and then when he had to leave, the Iranian molders took it over. And understand that the Treasury designated the Assa Corporation a front for the Bank Melli in 2008. And Bank Melli itself, the Treasury statement read, has been designated for its role in Iran's nuclear ballistic missile programs, for providing bank services to Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and Quds Force, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's external operations unit behind many of Iran's most notorious terrorist operations. Now, the article goes on to say, court documents show that the entire Alevi money laundering scheme was run in accordance with direct orders by Khomeini, by the ambassador at the Iranian mission to the UN. This arrangement involved 4 successive UN ambassadors, including Zarif. This is the Weekly Standard. This is a high, Claudia Rosette. This is a high-level publication. It may lean to the right, but they don't play with the facts, this publication. According to the documents, Zarif went to extensive lengths to hide Alevi's illicit ties when he was at the UN in 2004. And it gets into this other thing, another front, the Henif partnership, which is another front for Bank Melli. But the whole point of this whole thing is that Zarif's role in this Alevi saga was so far gone. They don't understand. Basically, his role is he's so far gone. It just into this whole thing with this covering up of the terrorist entities and trying to push this thing through with in other words, trying to cover up the Alevi Foundation as a corporation of Bank Melli of Iran because it was a terrorist entity. It was proven. They don't understand, quite frankly, how Zarif got around not getting prosecuted. They just don't understand it. Basically, is what they said. His role in the organization has so far gone largely unnoticed, and it's perhaps because the Southern District Court, in its press release on the forfeiture, didn't mention, because, like I said earlier, the 650 Fifth Avenue building was seized and forfeited to the United States government. Didn't mention Zarif's by name. Unfortunately, U.S. policymakers, including Congress, have failed to look into the exploits of this diplomat during his years on U.S. soil. However, given Zarif's current incarnation as Iran's man at the nuclear bargaining table, perhaps it's time someone in Washington to do that, to expose Zarif and how deeply he was involved in this 650 Fifth Avenue money laundering scheme for terror, all the way to the Iranian government, all the way to the Iranian weapons of mass destruction through Alevi Foundation, Assa Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran. So it's crazy. That's Mohammed Zarif, and that's another player that with the Bank Melli of Iran that owned interests in 650 Fifth Avenue. And just a little sidebar, because I found it odd. It's crashed again. Another sidebar. Iranian defector Amir Hossein Motangi, if I'm pronouncing it right. Iranian defector, United States negotiating team mainly there to speak on Iran's behalf. An Iranian journalist, this is the Weekly Standard, writing about the nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran, has defected. In an interview, Amir Hossein Motagi, Amir Hossein, I'm going to say, Amir Hossein, and he's a native Iranian, and the U.S. negotiating team, according to Amir, are mainly there to speak on Iran's behalf with other members of the 5+ countries and convince them of a deal. He told the television station, after just defecting from the Iranian delegation while abroad for nuclear talks, the PS-51 is made up of the United States, Russia, China, France, plus Germany. Crazy. So, I don't know. That's anecdotal. Iranian defector claiming United States negotiating team, mainly there to speak on Iran's behalf. I don't know. I don't know. So this is where we're at right now with this whole thing. I'm gonna, like I said last week, right? Just to give you a little preview of next week. I talked about it last week. Like, how doesn't President Clinton not know that the Levy Foundation is a terrorist entity, that the Levy Foundation is funding terror? And we're trying to understand why they they don't see that they're funding terror. According to the Levy Foundation and the Clinton Foundation, they're saying that this donation of $105,000 is a charitable donation. They're claiming it's for Katrina relief. I don't believe them. Why don't I believe them? For instance, I'm just saying, according to the Washington Times, Bill Clinton's foundation cashed in as Sweden lobbied Hillary on sanctions. This is the Washington Times. Bill Clinton's foundation set up a fundraising arm in Sweden that collected $26 million in donations. At the same time, the country was lobbying Hillary Rodham Clinton's State Department to forego sanctions that threatened its thriving business with Iran. So, and just to take this another step further, and I'm gonna leave it off at that. I'm just saying, right? So you look at that for an example, right? This was published June 2nd, 2015. This article, right? And there's more other stuff I'm going to bring in next week. And as money flowed to the foundation from Sweden, Mrs. Clinton teams in Washington declined to blacklist any Swedish firms despite warnings from Korea officials at the U.S. Embassy in Stockholm that Sweden was growing its economic ties with Iran and potentially undercutting Western efforts to end Tehran's rogue nuclear program. Crazy stuff. Sweden doesn't support implementing tighter financial sanctions on Iran and believes more stringent financial standards could hurt Swedish exports. Crazy. So by the time Mrs. Clinton left office in 2013, the Clinton Foundation had collected millions of dollars inside Sweden for its global charitable efforts, and Mr. Clinton personally pocketed a record $750,000 speaking fee from Ericsson, one of the firms at the center of the sanctions debate. So quite frankly, this is the Clinton Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, the Clinton consulting firm. Bill Clinton, in his Winnebagos, touring the world with his rogue presidency, as she has her rogue intelligence agency when she was Secretary of State, but she was United States Senator for 8 years? And then so the landline was the United States Senate office in New York. And then when she became Secretary of State and they went into the memorandum of understanding with the Obama administration, the landline was the Secretary of State's office for this Clinton consulting firm. And unconscionable. It is horrific. This is unprecedented. I don't know anything like this, where Hillary Clinton, wife of former president, he's touring the world and she's sitting in these positions, garnering all these speaking fees. Basically, he's garnering consulting fees. He's using his influence, his contacts as former president to game the American system, the American political system, quite frankly. That's what basically he's doing. So and I'm going to close on this. I'm just saying, I don't know, what this all means right now because I'm putting my thoughts together on this. And basically, I believe that, I'm just saying that conceivably, Bill Clinton, former President Clinton, on October 1998, while he was still president, this is what this is what I have, and then I'll end it with this. Bill Clinton, according to the United States versus Asa Corporation et al. Complaint filed by Preet Bharara. On March 15th, 1995, President Clinton announced that the actions and policies of the government of Iran constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, and its Executive Order 12957. Using the powers conferred by the International Emergency Economic Powers Act and other federal statutes, the president declared a national emergency to deal with the Iranian threat, according to Preet Bharara. On May 6, 1995, President Clinton issued Executive Order 1295, which, with some exceptions, banned the supply or exportation of any service from the United States to Iran. That's one. Two, according to WorldNet Daily Western Journalism Center by Kenneth Timmerman in 2000, the FY 1999 Omnibus Appropriations Bill, including the amendment known as Section 117, was part of the FY 1999 Omnibus Appropriations Bill. It compelled the Secretary of State of Clinton and the Secretary of Treasury of Clinton to assist victims of terrorism in locating assets of terrorist states in the United States to compensate the families for their unfortunate losses. It passed the Congress on October 20th, 1998, and President Clinton signed it into law. October 21st, 1998, before the ink even dried on signing that 1999 omnibus bill with Section 117, Clinton turned around and endorsed a separate presidential determination, 99-1, prepared by his National Security Council staff. Within minutes, he simply vacated 117 in its entirety under the guise of national security waiver. And he went from ruling on the side of the American people and their interests. Instead, he ruled on the side of these terrorist regimes like Iran. And I believe, because at the time his term was winding down and he was attempting to garner some sort of diplomatic victories with Iran. So he's in negotiations the way Obama, our illegal president, is running around doing. And quite frankly, I believe on October 21st, 1998, when he signed Presidential Determination 99-1 under the guise of a waiver under national security, an authorized waiver under national security, it was then that Bill Clinton, President Clinton, former President Clinton, became an agent of Iran. I don't think I'm being harsh here. Obviously, this is anecdotal. This is, I believe, is statistically significant. I believe I haven't put all the information out there yet, so it's not, I can't say it's statistically significant, but when I'm done, I think that I'm going to show it's statistically significant. Just on that one situation where they dealt with Sweden, and Sweden wanted to work with Iran, and how they helped Sweden get around the sanctions of Iran. So they're both helping Sweden and Iran economically, in spite of the wishes of the United States government to sanction Iran fully. It's crazy stuff. I'm telling you, it's the Frankie Russo pre-show, number 76. I want you all to join America's team. You go to russonation.tv and you click on the button and you sign up for America's Team and you'll get a t-shirt, or you can go to americasteam.today and click on the buttons, join America's Team and get a t-shirt. This is the Frankie Russo pre-show number 76. I'll see you in a few minutes. Frankie Russo, yeah, yeah.